The next question that we've got from our listeners comes from Darren Murphy. He says, which player do you think is in the most danger of losing a tour card?
I mean, well, obviously, the players who are at the bottom of the rankings in their second year are. I'm not going to just say, Vladimir Anderson for that reason, or Darren Webster. I'm going to go with the players who've been established for this question. And by established, I mean a player who's been on the tour for multiple years, has made it at least into the top 40. And there's 4 of them that I therefore found from that category who stand in danger. The most obvious is Devin Peterson, who had that breakout year during COVID, when he really was playing brilliantly. He was one of the top players in averages over the course of the year in the Players' Championships. He won a Euro Tour, had a deep run in the European Championships. He really looked like a top 10 player that year. And that's not an exaggeration. He was playing that well for a good 6-8 months. And it's unfortunate for him that it came in a year that there were only 4 Euro Tours, when the entire world changed, because it wasn't because of that he played well. He was already emerging before that. He had the deep run at the Worlds to save his tour card, and then was playing really well the first couple months of the year before COVID. But it's unfortunate because he lost out on so much opportunity to play more Euro Tours where he very well would have won them. He was playing well, really, really well that year, but dropped off. And now, as things stand, he would need a huge year to save his tour card, and he's not playing at that level. He's 120 something in averages so far. It really looks like it's back to Q school the way things are going. Another player, Darius Labanauskas, made it up to number 33 in the world. Never made it to the top 32, but got close with the quarterfinal to World Championships. Got in last year to the World Championships because of his performance in the Nordic and Baltic Tour, but he has really dropped off in the past 18 months from where he was. He qualified for a World's Grand Prix not that long ago, but he's not playing at that level. He needs to up his game significantly if he's going to save his tour card. The only other thing would be to get in yet again through the Nordic and Baltic Tour and pull a few scalps at Ali Pali. 2 others, though, that are playing well but need big years. Steve Lennon, he's had a poor year last year, not as poor as his results showed. He was still in the top 64 in averages, but he just couldn't get those results, so didn't qualify for Worlds. That means he needs to qualify for Worlds this year at a bare minimum to save his card. But he's 54th in averages so far in the Players' Championships. He's qualified for 2 of the 4 Euro Tours. He's given himself a good start, but he needs to kick on from here to save his tour card. And one more player, I hinted at him earlier when we were talking about Kim Huybrechts. He's the only other person who I didn't mention who has beaten Kim Huybrechts this year in a Pro Tour event, and that's Ian White, and he is really off to a good start. 39th in averages so far this year. 3 of the 4 Euro Tours he's qualified for. He hasn't qualified for the first one, but he has qualified for the second, third, and fourth. It's given him a fantastic start, but remember last year missed out on the World Championships after a very poor year, and he struggled at the back end of the year before that. It looks like with all the pressure on, he's doing well, and he's putting himself in that position to get to the European Championships, to get to the Players' Championship finals, and to get to the World Championships. He probably needs to do all 3 of those if he's going to save his tour card, but we know he can. He's been a player who's has won 4 Euro Tours in the past, and he's looking like, well, maybe not a player who's going to win 4 Euro Tours this year, but at least get to them and do enough to save his tour card. But he needs to keep going if he's going to.
Probably an early time of the year to be answering this question, because a lot can change during the season, and you've only got to go back to last year, and you'd probably ask this question this time last year, and 2 players that might have been the answers would have been Martin Lukeman and Andrew Gilding, because they had tough first years with their tour cards in 2021. And look at what they went to do in 2022. They had outstanding seasons. They both got to the World Match Play, the World Grand Prix, the World Championship. And you're looking now, Martin Lukeman inside the top 40, Andrew Gilding just outside. So it goes to show that players, they can have a not so good first year, and they can find a bit of form in that second year and really kick on. And there are players that won their tour cards last year. They'll be thinking about it a lot more. I'm sure that this year they're going to need to pick up some more results and really have a good run to stay on the tour next year. And you mentioned one of them there, Vladimir Anderson, £4,000 at the moment on the Order of Merit. He did cash in the first 2 Players' Championships of the year. We've got to give him some credit. It looks like he's starting to pick up a little bit of form, and missed the last weekend. I think he is focusing on that Nordic and Baltic Tour that you mentioned to try and get an Ali Pali spot that way. So best of luck to him, but he's going to need more results this year. You've got others in there like Darren Webster, Ross Montgomery, a player that I thought would have kicked on after he had a really good 2021 when he got his tour card was Rusty Jake Rodriguez, but he's not quite clicked for him just yet. Richie Bennett, who we've just seen him qualify for one of the Euro Tours on Monday this week. Great to see that, and this is his last dance, as he's called it, in the PDC, and if he wants that to extend to a third year, he's going to be someone that's going to need to pick up more results, getting more Euro Tours, of course, get to the World Championship at the end of the year. So, yeah, a few there that I was going to mention as well, the likes of Devon and Ian White, Darius Labanauskas. You've got Jeff Smith in there as well, who he's been loitering around that top 64 range, the 60 to 70 range for a few years now. He's managed to stay in that top 64 the last few years, but he's going to need to have another good year to stay in there, and it could all hinge on the end of the year getting into the World Championship. And for some of these players, they are going to get chances outside of the Pro Tour to get in via the likes of the Nordic and Baltic Tour. Others, they're going to be going into these Pro Tour weekends still very early on in the year, but knowing that they're going to need some results to get into the World Championship. And if they can get it done early doors, start a good run this year, then who knows, that they could maybe do a Martin Lukeman or an Andrew Gilden, and we could see a lot more of them as well.